Every president has specific things they like to focus on. And I worked for two, I know this. Certain issues or beliefs or campaign slogans that they will go back to over and over again. But there's only one president that I know who has taken to such a liking to one particular word, a single noun from the English language, which he seems to prize above all else.
It's called tariffs. I said my favorite word in the whole dictionary is tariff. I said tariff is my favorite word in the whole dictionary. I said my favorite word of every word is tariff. I've loved it for 40 years. My favorite word in the English dictionary is the word tariff. One of my favorite words is the word tariff. My favorite word is the word tariff. My favorite word, tariffs. I said tariff. My favorite word is tariff.
It's like he's grunting it out. It's his favorite word. That's clear. Nobody loves tariffs, it seems, more than Donald Trump loves tariffs. It's why, against all reason, Trump blanketed the world with steep tariffs, arbitrarily and chaotically driving up prices for millions of American consumers. And it's why today, when an aide walked into a meeting between Trump and a bunch of governors and handed him a note saying that the Supreme Court had struck down the vast majority of his tariffs, Trump went ballistic. I mean, immediately after that meeting, Trump held a hastily assembled press conference to mourn his precious tariffs. I mean, again, it's like the lighting in there is a funeral of sorts. I've never seen it lit like that. Over the course of 45 minutes, the American people got to watch him experience basically all 5 stages of grief live on television. I mean, there was stage 1, denial.
I have the right to do tariffs, and I've always had the right to do tariffs. The Supreme Court's decision today made a president's ability to both regulate trade and impose tariffs more powerful. I don't think the court meant that. I don't think the court meant it. I don't think they meant that. I'm sure they didn't.
They didn't mean it. Lots of denial. Now, of course, there's also stage 2, anger.
They're against anything that makes America strong, healthy, and great again. They also are a, frankly, disgrace to our nation, those justices. They're just being fools and lapdogs for the rhinos and the radical left Democrats.
There was stage 3, the form of bargaining.
I want to be very well behaved because I understand the court. I understand how they're very easily swayed. I want to be a good boy.
I want to be a good boy. Okay. There was stage 4, which is depression.
The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing, and I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed.
And then eventually there was stage 5, some form of acceptance.
It's ridiculous, but it's okay because we have other ways, numerous other ways. Now I'm going to go in a different direction, probably the direction that I should have gone the first time. Now I'll go the way I could have gone originally.
And because it was Donald Trump, there was, of course, also a 6th stage of grief, saying whatever absolutely unhinged thing popped into his head at any given moment.
I can do anything I want to do to them, but I can't charge any money. So I'm allowed to destroy the country, but I can't charge them a little fee. And I don't like them. I think they're real slime balls. I read the paragraphs. I read very well. Great comprehension. For 30 years longer, they made chip, chip, chip. He said, sir, I want to kiss you so badly. This is a very powerful man. I don't want to be kissed by that man.
So that was all. That was on one press conference today, everyone. I mean, it's very clear Donald Trump is going through some things right now. It's the only way to explain it. He desperately, obviously, did not want to give up his tariffs, and there's a reason for that. For the past 40 years, long before he ever ran for president, Donald Trump has been obsessed with the idea of levying tariffs on other countries, talking about it in interview after interview. And it has never been based on any sort of economic theory. It's always been about one thing, and one thing only: power. Because Trump believes tariffs give him power over other countries. He doesn't care if that power comes at the expense of regular Americans who end up paying the tariffs. He's okay with that pain as long as it gives him power over other world leaders. As long as he gets to feel big and tough and powerful. Just listen to the way he talked about using tariffs against the nation of Switzerland.
You know, I had an incident with a very nice country, Switzerland. So I put on a 30% tariff, which is very low. Still, we were having a big deficit, but it was half the deficit. And I got an emergency call from, I believe, the Prime Minister of Switzerland, and she was very aggressive, but nice, but very aggressive. Sir, we are a small country. We can't do this. We can't do this. I couldn't get her off the phone. We are a small country. I said, you may be a small country, but we have a $42 billion deficit with you. No, we are a small country. Again and again and again. I couldn't get her off the phone. So it was at 30%. And I didn't really like the way she talked to us. And so instead of giving her a reduction, I raised it to 39%.
Okay. First off, when Trump says the Prime Minister of Switzerland, he's probably referring to the former president of Switzerland, Karen Keller-Sutter, who you can see right there. But the point here is that Trump claims he raised tariffs on Switzerland by 9% simply because he did not like the president's tone. It didn't matter that it would be regular Americans and Swiss citizens who would suffer as a result of those tariffs. All that mattered was Trump's ego. And even this conservative majority Supreme Court could not deny that there's no rationale or constitutional basis for letting a president create that kind of pain for his own personal vanity. I mean, Trump repeatedly claimed that his tariff policy was about helping American workers. At one point, he even promised to send every American a rebate check from all the money the U.S. was taking in from the tariffs. But this was never actually about helping regular people, to state the obvious, which is why, even after the Supreme Court declared these tariffs illegal and paved the way for repaying the people who were hurt by them, the Trump administration suddenly has no interest in helping regular people. I mean, here was Trump's very in touch Treasury Secretary on that particular subject just today.
Well, it's going to be a food fight going after $175 billion, isn't it? So
I got a feeling the American people won't see it.
I mean, he sounded almost gleeful there. Trump doesn't want to help people with his tariffs. Neither does anybody who works for him. He wants power. He wants to act like a king, which is why tonight he signed a new executive order that will impose new 10% tariffs on all countries under a different statute. Now, those new tariffs are also likely to be challenged, and the statute he's using only allows those tariffs to be in place for 150 days before Congress would have to make them permanent. And for those of you who don't have calculators in front of you right now, 150 days from now is August, which is right before the midterm elections. So there's that. But the point here is that he won't give up on this. He refuses to admit he does not have this power. Trump's tariff policy embodies everything that is wrong with this administration. The thirst for power, the willingness to ignore the Constitution, the chaotic implementation, and lack of regard for any consequences. It's the policy of a petty tyrant prone to tantrums. But today's ruling showed that the tyrant isn't as powerful as he thinks he is. And the real pushback against Trump's tariffs is just getting started.